Well, welcome everybody. My name is Tommy Soares. I welcome you to another Pathfinder program. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Shayak Samaddar, uh, a PhD scientist who is now an analyst at an advisor at Eli Lilly. Dr. Samaddar, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. It is a pleasure to catch up with you again. And I am so happy to have you on the program today.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be useful to Purdue, being the alumni there. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, and I remember when we used to cross paths here at Purdue, and it was great to see you then, and it's great to see you today. And I've been looking forward to this interview. Number one, because I don't know what an advisor does in a company. And I know that there are people here that really want to hear what is this advisor role that you have. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about your preparation to get here to start working in Eli Lilly as an advisor. What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. Just before I start, I need to say this statement on record. Whatever I share today is my personal opinion and is not indicative of my employer's outlook. So I have a disclaimer because I am a Lilly employee. As Tommy mentioned, like I'm currently in Lilly, so my background was in pharmacy. So I'm a pharmacist by training from India. I did my bachelor's in the foothills of Himalaya. There was a very beautiful place. Towards the final year of my bachelor's, I started growing more interest in pharmaceutics and drug delivery systems in specifically, like I was trying to understand and working on polymeric nanosystems and microsystems, microparticles that could deliver drugs to target sites. That and to whet that that curiosity, I decided that I wanted to do more research related career path. So I decided that masters would be definitely useful. So for my masters, I joined Northeastern University in Boston, and the program I chose was called Pharmaceutics and Drug Delivery. It was really focused on nanomedicines at that point of time, and that was my interest also. So over there, when I joined Northeastern, I was also working. I started my first research experience in the lab of Professor Heather Clark, and over there I was working on formulating this like polymeric nanoparticles for biosensing applications. After my master's, I decided that to get a strong hold in understanding of what pharmaceutical drug product development looks like and what pharmaceutical industry is about. I think I needed to get much more deeper than just a master's degree and understand what research is all about, right? So that like a PhD was a natural flow after my master's, and then I came to know about Thomson Lab actually through a postdoc I was working with. I was doing an internship at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and there was this postdoc who actually graduated from Purdue as well. Like she did her PhD at Ionio's lab in the pharmacy department, and she introduced me to these are the different professors that work on drug delivery in Purdue, and I liked Professor David Thompson's lab and Philip Lau's lab in the beginning when I first interviewed, and I knew that these were the two labs I'm going to work with. And then I joined Purdue, and then luckily things worked out. I was able to join Professor Thompson's lab, and get a degree over there in chemistry department. And again, my research was again as like very focused on drug delivery, nanoparticles. In that has been a common theme since the last year of my undergrad. I was always interested in this field, and that's what I have pursued throughout my academic career, and also here in Lilly. That's is kind of my niche that I work on, like nucleic acids and drug delivery systems.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a, and what an amazing
Yeah.
journey that you've been through. And I'm so curious to hear a little bit about what you went through as you went along. Let's go back just a second to when you made the leap from your, I want to say it's your undergrad to your master's in Boston, right? How was that change, and what did you see as was okay? I think I'm going to be able to do this in Boston and take on this master's. Do you remember a little bit about that transition?
Yeah. The first thing I learned when I was in masters is how much I don't know. That there was like how much I don't know about research, how much I don't know about like pharmaceutics in general. That's what I felt. Like how I that was kind of my first research experience in US, and that was also very different from the research experience that we had in India, being undergrad. First of all, like in India, it's not very like it's kind of difficult to get research experience unless if you have a unless you are going to a very highly funded school. My research experience within India was very little. However, when I came into Northeastern, it was a research focused university. So like the research was very intensive there, and I get to understand more about how to, plan your experiment and things like that. That was a very different um, experience over there. Luckily, I was able to I had good supervisor and good mentors. I worked with someone called Kevin, who was a postdoc at Professor Heather's lab. He helped me a lot trying to cope up with the, you know, both cultural and, experimental changes that happened, the transition. So hopefully I was able to contribute to the research there, and we at the end of at the end of the my research experience in Northeastern, I was able also to get a publication. So that always helps. So yeah, I mean, in general, like that was a new experience for me. My master's, trying to understand how to think about experiments and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like in undergrad, most of my experiments were already planned. I was just the hands in the lab, right? But at Purdue, sorry, at Northeastern, it was the first time I was given a goal and designing experiments to reach that goal. So that was
Yes.
kind of the transition that happened from my undergrad to master's.
And not only you said it best because you said not only was this a transition scientifically and in terms of responsibility that you took on, but as you put it, you went from the foothills of the Himalayas to Copley Plaza and Fenway Park.
Exactly. Exactly.
And like, my gosh, it must have been a culture shock
Yeah.
also to the system, and what an adjustment. I admire you so much for being able to make that adjustment, which must have been quite drastic on you, and be able to have the confidence that, yep, I got this. And Shayak, do you remember what was good advice that you received back then that you maybe can pass on to people that are watching this program that are thinking about making the leap, making that move, and think about boy, this is how you should prepare, or something that you learned during the experience that somebody taught you that you would want to pass on?
Yeah, I would say, like the best advice when I first came to US and back in 20, it was 2011, was Google it.
Google
Before
it.
you ask a question, you first Google it and see what is out there for you to know. And then you can start asking other people questions that, this is what I found, and like, what's your opinion? But the first step is always Google it. And I have been doing that since 2011. Like, whatever comes to my mind, no matter how trivial or how complex, I will first try to Google it, and then try to understand myself before asking others that, what is the best way forward.
I
So I
love
think
that.
the first advice I got was Google it.
Google it. It is so it is so wonderful, because it's so telling of the times. Can you imagine the time when we didn't have Google? Um,
So
we
yeah, I think like even in India, I mean, I was doing my bachelor's during 2000, late 2006 to 2010. At that point of time, internet was not that prevalent. At least where I studied, internet was like, we had mobile phones, we had internet in our mobile phones, but it was not that, like application of that to education and all those stuff was not that. I didn't feel that was prevalent. But like in 2011, like everything, when I came to first US, I felt everything was very fast over here. And
yes,
Google as a resource of education and everything was very uh, was high speed, and like it tells you so much, and about what has been done and what you can plan to do.
and how wonderful that how much information it continues to gather,
Yeah.
as we go on, and what a tool it has become. So much so that you called it you go Google it as if it were a verb.
Yeah, I
um,
mean, like, you'd be amazed the amount of information is out there. Not everything is useful. Definitely, you need to use your like brain to analyze the data out there, but it's definitely helps. It definitely
yes.
helps. Yeah.
I am also so now interested in hearing what was your reaction to go from the big city of Boston, from Northeastern, to the soybean field and the corn bean field that is Purdue University, stuck in the middle of these two fields.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So location was never a issue for me. As I said, like, I was already moving in from like a small town in foothills of Himalaya to like a place like Boston. So like, what always drove me is my research interest and the field where I wanted to get expertise in. And also, so like, I moved into Purdue not because of Purdue University or or Midwest, but because of I knew that a professor I wanted to work with.
I
So
see.
that was my main motivation of coming to Purdue, and because I knew if I do this in my life, I'll never get bored while doing this. So that was my transition. And when I came into Purdue again, like as a PhD student, like, your lab is your home kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
it was mostly like my apartment and lab and stuff. So it wasn't a very um, I wouldn't I it was very natural. I didn't have any, like any biases or any it wasn't a problem for me to adjust or anything when I came into Purdue.
I really like how you said that,
Yeah,
because it is a wonderful environment for, if you want to focus on your science.
yeah,
There aren't that many distractions here,
yeah.
and it's a great place where you can get a lot done, and you can get a lot of work done. I am so in awe of your focus and determination in pharmaceuticals, in drug delivery. I mean, it seems like you knew from very early on that that's what you wanted to do. And yet you went through and did a master's. And I want to ask you, do you think the master's helped you for your PhD? And then let me ask you this question also: was it important for you to have this focus as a measure of your success? Did this focus give you the success that you have achieved so far, you think?
Yeah, I think knowing what you wanted to do is always helpful. Because when you know what you want to do and you are reading stuff around that field, you are gaining this wealth of knowledge that somebody who is still not determined at that point of time is not gaining, right? So you are already uh, uh, getting the edge against your peers who are probably not at that point, still are trying to understand different areas and stuff, right? So in one way that is helpful. I feel that because I knew what I wanted to do, I was always involved academically and trying to read stuff around my area of interest. That is always helpful. Yeah. So uh, focus. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And what about the master's? Do you think it was
Oh,
helpful to have that master's degree?
yeah. I think for me it was useful because, as I said, from the university I was studying in India, I did not have too much of experience, and also the lab experience that I had was mostly like, it was like I was told what I need to do right in lab. So from there, going into a good university like Purdue, like that transition, having the master's degree definitely helped. I doubt like how competitive my resume would be if I had directly applied after my bachelor's. So I felt that to get into a good PhD program in a good university, that master's degree helped me coming from India. Yeah. With
And
I mean, it's not unheard of of doing PhD right after bachelor's,
yeah.
and also many of my friends in Purdue like came right into their PhD program after their bachelor's. But in that case, like they already had some research experience, in-depth research experience, which I was lacking at that point of time.
And did you learn something in that master's degree and in the PhD degree that you think, oh, I have accumulated this and now I'm using it in industry, in your particular job? Were there facets about the master's that also helped you?
Yeah, I think I learned different aspects of science in my master's and PhD. In master's, I was most learning about how to design experiment and how to execute them to reach a common goal. And in my PhD, I was more, um, I was more focused on how to drive a project
Yeah.
because I feel in my lab, our professor always kind of gave us the ability to pursue our curiosity, and I am a curious person by nature, and that's like I made mistakes. It's not that I did not make mistakes. Probably projects which I would have taken 6 months now took me 1.5 year, 2 years at that point of time. But if I had not made those mistakes, and if I had not taken that time, and if Professor Thompson would have been if always have been feeding me stuff that I need to do, probably I would not have been able to become the independent scientist that I am today. So if so I think like ability to in my PhD, that ability to analyze the problem and how to hit the bullseye, think about experiment, like Thompson used to tell me, like, think about experiment, how to hit the bullseye, rather than going all around and over the place with different experiment which spends your time. So I think that was a very useful useful advice that I got. And yeah, I think that helped me to transform myself into independent thinker that I am today. Yeah.
And so now take us back to the time where you were finishing that PhD with Professor Thompson, and you were thinking, okay, what do I do next? A lot of people go and they do a postdoc. Did you do a postdoc? Did you think about a postdoc? Or was it just straight to industry? And how did you start thinking and planning for that?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think like I did not think about a postdoc because I was not thinking of going into I was not thinking of going into academics, because like there are several skills that you need. I think they're a little bit going into industry and going into academics needs different skill set. So I think for going into academics, you have to write ton of grants and like do stuff like that, which I've like writing a lot, which I was not very well, I would say, well equipped with. So I think that was, I knew that it might be it my academic. If I went into academia, it might be difficult for me in that way. So that's why like I mainly focused on industry jobs, because I knew that that's where my strength lies, in research and taking projects forward in a independent way. So that's why I decided to join the industry rather than going into academics. Yeah.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And how was it that you start planning or learning about the opportunities that were available for you in industry coming out of a PhD and not having done a postdoc, which again,
So
like for many people, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but for many people, I just want to say that a lot of people think that, oh, it's automatic. Once you do your PhD, you have to do a postdoc, and then you have to, do maybe another postdoc until you're able to get and a few publications and so on. And that's important if you are going after a faculty position. But if you are going to industry, maybe you can, like you, Shayak, jump from the PhD straight into industry, right?
yeah, I think like as you said about publication, I would definitely ask people, like advise people to collaborate as much as possible. Talk to your friends and see how your lab can collaborate with other labs. I think I was lucky because I was in Bindley, and there were Burke was next door, and like I had friends over Burke who was from electrical engineering trying to solve similar bio related issues. So in that case, like collaboration happened like naturally because of the setup that Purdue has in Bond Bindley area. That was very helpful. Like I had like probably two publications from those collaborations that helped me. And it was like just started over like a cup of coffee or like saying hi and stopping by and started discussing about science, and that's how hallway talks that led to those publications. So I think Purdue has that great setup already to foster publications and stuff. And how I got my first job was actually again through the chemistry department. The chemistry department sent out that the position that was available at Pace. So I applied to the position, and then I got called in for an interview, and I gave the interview, and luckily qualified, got accepted for the position, and then it was time to go to Boston. Yeah.
So from Purdue you went to Boston. Right.
Oh yeah,
Let's
yeah. So
tell
my
us.
first job was at Pace Analytical in Boston, near Boston.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
so I worked there over about an year
O-
before I got back to Lilly. Like I mean, came back to Indiana to join Lilly.
Okay. And what was your responsibility at Pace?
So I was also a scientist over there, but that was a CRO or contract research organization. So over there, like there were many companies, small companies to large companies who used to outsource certain part of their research, and you get to work on different kinds of project with different kinds of companies. Somewhere in mid-size, somewhere small size, somewhere large, somewhere some did not even have a lab space. They were just trying to get some data so that they can apply for larger funding. So
Okay.
I think that experience that I had was also very helpful because of you get to wet your hands in tons of different techniques, and it's very intensive. Like the project timelines were very demanding and very short. So you get to learn a lot of different things in a small period of time. But what was missing was that the continuity. I was unable to find the satisfaction because like if there was things that you could do have done better, there was no time to do it. It's just that you come to a place and hand off the project and then move on to the next project. So you couldn't see the continuity of the position of the research work that you are doing. So I think that was a main motivation for me to start looking at a larger pharma where I can go into understanding how a drug discovery, how discovery comes into development and development to patients, right? So that journey, that view was not clear to me in my previous job. So that's why I started looking for mainstream pharma where I could get that experience, where I have seen how discovery is in kind of in academia, like because academia, it's like you design something, you have a therapy, you do a proof of concept in vitro, then in vivo, right? And that's your paper.
Right.
And you get an in vivo data set, you publish that paper, and sometimes that is the endpoint in your PhD, right? But there is like only 10% or less than 10% of the work is done at that point of time. The remaining 90% work is still left for the like clinical trials and later on. And there is so much things that are also involved that I did have no idea when I completed my PhD also, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to get that experience, and that's why again I decided to switch ships and go into main pharma.
And so when you were at Pace, that was a laboratory position. You were in the lab, you were conducting experiments for
Yes, yes.
clients.
I'm in lab now also.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly like developing methods for different analytical techniques, developing formulations and things like that. Yes, that was also in lab position.
I see. And with a lot of people in the team, you were part of a team.
So I mean, like the site at Boston was like around 40 people,
Mhm.
like and there were like probably like different projects, and some people were on same project, some people were on different projects.
Right.
So you always had a particular part of the project that you needed to complete. If the project is small, probably you are the only person working on the project. If the project was large, there might be multiple people contributing to different parts of the project.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And so, my gosh, so you went back to Boston, and then how long were you at Pace before coming back to?
About year and few months, 1 year and 2 months, 3 months, 1 year and 3 months. Yeah,
And it was just so beautiful in Indiana that you couldn't stay away
exactly.
from.
Exactly. The cornfields were calling me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the cornfields, but it is beautiful. I have to say, we've been having some really gorgeous days these days, and it's been
Yeah.
awesome. And it makes me think, you know, people like you who have a talent, who see the opportunities, came back to Indiana to develop this opportunity with Eli Lilly, which I find so incredible. And what I still don't understand is what does the, maybe that's why I think it's incredible, because I don't understand this, is what do you do as an analyst at Lilly? What is that role? What is your day-to-day
Yeah.
involvement?
So my job at Lilly is mostly like involves after candidate selection. So basically, like you discover a molecule, and then you put it in mice. You see a good like first of all, you have like probably 1,000 different variety of that molecule. You screen all those molecules to come down to that 3 or 4 molecules that you see as highly potent, right? And then of that highly potent 3 or 4 molecules, you test them in non-human primates and stuff like that, and then you come down to that one promising candidate that you want to develop. So coming down to candidate selection, before candidate selection is discovery, after candidate selection is development, right? Once that one molecule is found out that you want to develop for further clinical studies, that's where I get involved. So right now, in the past 1.5 years, I have been looking into molecules from the candidate selection phase to the FHD, or first human dose.
I
Hello,
see.
can
Yep,
you?
yep.
Sorry.
We can hear you. We
Uh,
can hear you.
yeah. Okay.
It's okay.
Uh,
We can hear you. Yep.
okay. My screen went blank for a minute.
Okay.
Uh, Anyways, so yeah, so like right now I'm looking into like first candidate selection till the time when it first goes into a human patient, the first human dosing. So there are several studies that we need to do, and like trying to make that molecule in and make sure that it goes into the human patient, like developing that formulation that will take that molecule further into patient, and trying to bridge that gap from non-human primates to a human, a healthy human patient. No, sorry, healthy human in a volunteer.
And so you are, so, and you're, I mean, you're looking at uh, different data sets as it's moving through, as these molecules are moving through. Are you analyzing and you're deciding, okay, which one is looking better, which one could,
Yes, yes. Again, like I would say, like it is a very, like large machine with lot of small gears, and I'm kind of one small gear that's rotating in there. So
okay,
there are multiple teams. There is like me as a formulation scientist, I'm contributing to formulation. There are people in the analytical department who are responsible for some of the analysis that you are talking about. There are team biophysical team that has like characterizing the biophysical properties of this molecule. So there are a lot of small wheels that are going on together, trying to take the molecule from the candidate selection to the first human dose. So
yeah.
and everything is so organized, and it's like kind of as I said, it's just a huge machine with multiple small gears that are working in union to take a project forward.
I like that picture that you paint,
Yeah,
because and I can totally see it. I imagine it as a big machine. It has so
yeah,
many different components and so
yeah,
many subgroups and teams that work to dependently and interdependently with other
yeah.
teams, right?
I mean,
Making
there are
this.
people from business background till contributing to science background. Everybody contributes in some way or the other.
Yeah.
uh, it's just, it might seem a small step, but it's kind of like a lot of people put in their efforts to get that first human dose and beyond.
That's awesome. Um, Let me ask you, because it sounds like that there is a lot of camaraderie, right? There's a lot of this type of working together. And it's reminiscent to some of the camaraderie, as you said, of Bindley Bioscience Center and Burke Nanotechnology connections that you made. Is that collegiality because of you? Because you put the effort to go and meet people and connect with them and try to solve problems? Does it take that? Or is it because just the situation that you're in demands that you have input from so many different people and there is no choice? This is the way that you have to work.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think I got lucky working in the Bindley environment, in the Discovery Park environment, that I got to collaborate with like people in electrical engineering department, people in the vet school, people in the Hanson building. I think I got trained, and so like when I came to transition to industry, like collaborating within teams kind of came naturally to me because I was already in such a collaborative environment at Purdue. So
Yeah.
you are absolutely right. Probably like if I was uh, working all by myself in a basement of Weatherill throughout my 5 years, I might not have been as that collaborative skills might not have come as naturally to me as it comes today. But because of Purdue, because of the discovery part setup, like I feel that, and because of the kind of research projects also I was dealing with, right? So it kind of helped me to do the collaborative stuff that we do over here today. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And I can see that. And I appreciate the comments that you made about having that opportunity to connect with other disciplines and learning how to work with them and how to collaborate with them to produce publishable material. Um, Shayak, if you think back of your time in academia, Northeastern or Purdue, or even in India, what is it that you think you miss the most out of your time in academia?
Miss the most would be uh, probably I would say um, the exploring your own curiosity. Although, like I would say, Lilly does a great job at promoting that. But in general, I would say like at academia, you have much more freedom. At least in our lab, there was much more freedom to pursue your own curiosities during your PhD. And Professor Thompson was very supportive of that as well. So I feel, however, in industry, like you are always under always under tight schedule and always under, as I say, like if since there are multiple wheels going at the same time, you need to make sure that you are in sync with the rest of the team. Otherwise, if you delay something, there is a lot of further things that might delay. So getting the time out of that place and like kind of building your own research efforts is kind of tricky, and I'm still learning that. However, Lilly has a very good system which promotes that actually. So Lilly encourages their scientists to come up with research ideas, and like they have funding sources in place where you can use those to drive your curiosity forward. So
And so
um,
you can apply for little funding opportunities within the company to
yeah,
go pursue questions.
yes, we have that mechanism to apply for funding within Lilly to pursue our. Yeah, of course, it has to fit in somehow, like with the larger goal of the department.
Sure.
Yeah, but like I cannot like apply for a grant for doing something completely different than what our
Right.
department does, but they Lilly encourages their scientists to come up with these ideas and like present them, and then get some funding, and then probably get, if you have funding, you can depending on the amount and the project length, you might be able to get an intern or get a postdoc for your project.
That's that is awesome to learn. That is so great to hear
Yeah.
because I don't know if it's news to people, but it certainly is newsworthy to me to learn that there are these mechanisms within the company that you can do this. And I guess, to be fair, Shaya, Eli Lilly and Company is a huge company. And so it might have a research and development budget that is substantial enough to do this, whereas a smaller startup company would not have the budget
Yes.
to
Yeah.
do this, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to be thoughtful about when people decide, where do I want to go? Okay, I know I want to go into industry, but it's a different flavor of industry if you go to a larger company or a smaller startup or a medium-sized company. They're very different in their cultures. Would you not agree? I mean, I don't know, what was the difference between Pace and Lilly? Was there a very big difference in the
Yeah,
culture?
there is. Yeah, there is definitely huge difference. In pace, like there was multiple different projects I was doing in small time frames. So I was gathering the technical depth, definitely on using instruments and like developing methods and things like this. But in Lilly, what I get is the bigger picture, getting to understand the drug development process and the wheels that are involved in it is a completely different ball game than what I was doing at Pace. So it was a very at Pace. I would say that 1 year, one probably 1 year, 2 year was a very good time frame because I was getting that instrument experience. Like I was working on different instrument. Now I know the analytical techniques and methods that I need to develop and how to develop how the instrument is functioning. And it was a very intensive 1 year and 3 months that I spent at Pace, learning a lot about the instrumentation techniques. But at Lilly, you get to know like that is helping me now because now I know how those instrument operates, and now I know how to use that in a pharmaceutical sense, right? Use those technologies in a pharmaceutical sense, and now I'm getting the exposure to understand the bigger picture, the bigger drug product development, not drug development, but drug product development, getting something to the patients in vial or in prefilled syringes.
And that there must be so much satisfaction in knowing that you are working towards an actual product, not just
Exactly.
a paper, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
is that something that keeps you motivated? And maybe a better question to ask you is, what do you think are the elements that keep you motivated and that have given you this edge to be able to succeed in everything that you've done? I mean, Shayak, I remember when you and I used to bump into each other in the hallway in the Bentley, and I remember when you guys did move into the Bentley, and it's wonderful to see you progress in your career to be where you are. And I think there are certain elements there that must keep you motivated, and they must keep you um, keep on going, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. I mean, as long as I am like, I feel like curiosity is a big aspect of my character. I feel like, and I'm always curious about different questions and different things. So as long as I am answering to those curiosity on my day-to-day basis, or I'm doing some experiments to help understand those curiosities or those unknowns, I keep generally it's that's what motivates me, that I am contributing to a bigger unknown in some way or the other. So as long as that is there, I am happy. Yeah, the day something becomes monotonous, the day something becomes, oh, I have done this before, I know this, this is how I need to do it. That day probably I will start looking at different challenges.
Sure, sure. Keep
Yeah.
yourself uh, on challenge, on point,
Yeah,
as they
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
and do you remember? I think there's also something to be learned about how you got that job at Pace. Maybe what were some of the elements in your interview that you think would be good for other people to know about? And also, what you think would be elements of your interview for getting the job at Lilly that you think people who are listening to this would take home and say, you know, I better work on that, or I better take care of that, or think about that question because it's going to come up.
Yeah, I would say like whatever you are doing, like whatever instrument you are using, whatever techniques you are learning in graduate school, uh, be more curious and learn little bit more about them. For example, if you are using a simple instrument like say dynamic light scattering, like what are the technicalities? Like how does the instrument give you a size so small? How is it is able to find out those data? Like understanding the in like asking that extra question always help, because when you go to interview, they will ask you a little bit more. So you say that I have done this, then they will try to understand, oh, whether you have gone little bit more into that aspect and analyzed it in further with further thoughtfulness. So I think asking that one extra question or trying to learn that little bit more always helps in whatever you are doing. Just don't take any data on its face value, or just okay, I put the samples in, this is it's what giving me, so this is the data. It's not that. You need to understand like how the instrument works and what could impact that result. So understanding that intricacies is important, I feel. And I think during technical interviews, that's what people try to understand, kind of judging um, your curiosity and trying to judging your understanding of the thing that you are presenting. Very seldom people go out of what you have done and ask you questions on that. During the interview, people will ask you questions on what you have done, and be coming out of a PhD lab or coming out with a PhD degree, you should be the expert on that thing. So make sure that you understand the intricacies, and ask how many ever questions you want to ask about that one data set. Like what are the different things that could have gone wrong, or what could have I done better? Because like there is always way of doing things better. So make sure you ask your question yourself about that question.
And I really like your suggestion that, you know, you should take a little bit longer to understand the instrument or to understand the limits of what the instrument can and can't do, and how do you make it do better.
Yeah.
um, we take it for granted that you know, the machine is going to be perfect all the time, and and that we're reliant on this really sophisticated equipment that we have to answer questions about ourselves, about molecules, and we just take it for granted that, oh, here it is, it's the HPLC, and I can just walk up to it, or here's the dynamic light scatter,
Yeah.
you know, and oh, it's just easy,
Yeah.
sec malls, no problem, you
Yeah.
know. And we really have to be cognizant of the machines were made by humans, and number one, and so you better figure out what they are doing so that you can make them hum, right? And
Yeah.
be an expert not only in the science, not only be able to ask the question, but know a little bit more about that instrument so that you can really get good data out of it, especially the
Yeah.
ones that you're
Yeah.
getting from
Exactly.
Lilly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like over here sometimes, like I sit in interviews and people say that on their resume that, like I know this, I know that, I have used this instrument. And then when you go into details like about how the instrument works, people many times are not able to answer that properly. So it is good because I mean, if things go smoothly, it's fine. You get the data and you are publishing that data. That's good. But the problem is that when something doesn't work, unless you know that, you won't be able to troubleshoot that problem and take
Uh,
that project forward. So
it's
um,
crucial,
yeah,
crucial that and Shayak, maybe so that everybody hears it loud and clear. You know, anybody, any robot, any monkey can do everything when things are running perfect and things are running smooth. But they hire you and they pay you the big dollars, not for when it goes smoothly, but when problems arise and they need
yep,
you to be there to handle the situation and
exactly.
resolve those problems. That is, I love that way of putting it too, because it really changes your perspective. It's not, you know, the merit is not all the times in what you can produce, but also what fires you can put out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's important. Do you find that there are more fires to put out in academia because we tend to make more mistakes as students as we go on? Then there are more fires to put out in industry because there is a better process, more project management, more checks and balances in place, rather than well, you go explore and figure out what you want to do. I mean, there is such a difference in those two cultures, right? And what
Yeah.
is, you
I
know,
would say that in academia, I would just tell about myself, my growth, my understanding during PhD and industry is that like probably there were fires burning, which I didn't even notice when I was in PhD, right? Now being in the industry, having that knowledge, I at least know that there is this fire and like who are the people I need to contact to put this fire out. So that and understanding, it's probably fire in both ways, right? Research is research. Whenever you are doing research, there are fires to put out, right? It's just identifying where the fires are burning and where there are potential fires and who are the people to contact to
yes,
like put out those fires. So I think and as you go higher and as you gain more and more experience, I think, and connections you make will make you more efficient at analyzing those threats and risks and putting them out and mitigating them basically.
yes.
um,
And being able to delegate a few of those things, like as you said, who can put out this fire?
Exactly. That is also
Being able,
important. Yeah.
yeah,
Because if you are trying to put out a fire all by yourself, that might take much longer than if you know who are the people you can collaborate with or delegate it with to get that thing taken care of in a faster manner.
yeah, yeah. Which does not necessarily happen in academia, right? You in academia, you're pretty much off to fend for
I
yourself.
I would say that again, that's where collaboration and talking to people come in. Like there were a lot of times where my projects were delayed, and talking, like being in Binley, talking downstairs to the
Mm,
immunology lab. I'm forgetting he was a very good immunologist who helped me with a lot of my understanding of data and stuff. So
sure.
um, um, like it's always important to talk to people when you are have facing difficulties and identifying those resources who you should approach to first, definitely first there is Google it. No one can beat Google. But once you have that understanding of the problem, then you find out the resources that you need to approach and talk to about your problem.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
so so it's always better. It's always like in academia also, there is always you need to be resourceful and talk to the right people so that you can progress your project faster. I think that is something that I learned during my PhD, and if I had probably done that from day one, probably I would have I would have contributed more. I feel that that's how would have I done my PhD different, is starting to talk to people and understand problems much earlier than I did.
That's great advice. I want everybody here to hear that advice because it's so important. It's about networking. It's about who you know and who can help to resolve some of the issues that you're encountering, and then you'll be able to resolve them faster and more efficiently. I want to invite anybody who's listening to the program today that if you have a question, please jot it down on the chat box, and we can ask Shayak the question. You are so full of awesome advice and tidbits that really I'm gonna need to go back on this video and re-listen to some of it, because you are a fast talker and you're putting out a lot of great information that I want people to hear. There is this concept that you bring, which is being resourceful to others, but also being resourceful in identifying the expertise in others that you can complement yourself with and move forward. Um, is that is that an element in your PhD that you think gave you an advantage? And I ask you that because I know the Thompson lab and I know the culture in that lab as being very much working together, people helping each other, and that aspect. I know you said it before, but that aspect also being in that culture opens you up to go even beyond that group of people and say, well, oh, you guys don't know. Let me go ask somebody over there somewhere else in the Berk who might know electrical engineering or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think absolutely. That's what I meant by saying that Thompson is very open to allows you to pursue your own curiosity. If I don't know what would have happened if like I was in some other building or anything, but at least because he was open to allowing his students' curiosity to flourish, and like that's how like different collaborations came about, and like ability to talk to others. And it took some time for me, like it probably like I ideally now I would have started like identifying those problems much better and approaching the right people. But again, as I said, he was like you go along all alone, and I'll be there to support you when you fall down. So I think that helped. It took some time, but I think that helped. Otherwise, it's difficult to understand those intricacies of research and everything, right? So it was a fun time and very productive time in building up yourself both mentally and technically, to take on more and more challenging projects, I think. Yeah.
Fantastic. And if you were to say one last parting set of words to the group as to what is the true success in industry, how can we be successful as scientists here in industry? What would you say?
I think industry will also focus. Definitely, you need to be technically strong, but to thrive in industry, you need to have a very strong soft skill, ability to collaborate and ability to communicate. That is definitely very important. And when we are looking at potential candidates, or any company is looking potential candidates, they will most likely to hire if they feel that you are a team player and are ability to collaborate within teams and ability to work together. So that's because technical expertise, some you will know, some you will don't know, and the company will teach you that, right? But the soft skills, you have to bring it with yourself, and you need to teach yourself the soft skills. So it's important to collaborate and communicate.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Dr. Shayak Samaddar, advisor for Eli Lilly and Company. Thank you for being our Pathfinder today. So many great pieces of advice, and I am certain lots of people are going to be interested in watching this video. So thank you again for
yeah,
sharing with us and sharing your journey with us today.
yeah. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everyone. Yeah,
And yeah, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
yeah. You too. Thank you. Bye.